Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Stuff Done podcast. My name is Gordon Dudley, your host, and I want to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to everybody who's been listening to the previous episodes. We are now on episode 15, and it's been absolutely great to have people tuning in either by video or by audio more and more each week. I also want to take this brief opportunity to say a big thank you to Kami, who is the producer of this podcast. She does all the work behind the scenes that you can see across all the different channels that the podcast goes out on. So a big thank you to everybody. Next, I should introduce my guest for this week, and his name is Francis Oh. He is a Korean who is based in Hong Kong, and he is the COO and APAC CEO of Qraft Technologies. They are a cutting-edge artificial intelligence technology specifically focused on financial institutions. Francis himself has been featured in many other mainstream media channels. He also has been invited as a guest lecturer at Oxford Said Business School, HKU and HKUST. And previously, before Qraft Technologies, he was with other renowned companies such as Vanguard, Direction, Miri Asset, among others. He graduated from Korea University with a BBA and also now has an MBA from the University of Hong Kong, as well as being a chartered alternative investment analyst. I had the chance to meet him when he was over on a panel in Seoul a few months ago, and it's my great pleasure to have him with us today. Welcome, Francis.
Thank you. Thank you, Gordon, for giving me the great introduction for the podcast listeners. It's my honor to be here. I'm very excited to have another session today together with you.
Absolutely, that's great to hear. And I think I should say that when I met you on a panel, I was very interested in not just your kind of professional status, but also your personal journey. So I think in the course of today's Get Stuff Done podcast, we can kind of delve into that. But tell me first a little bit about your current status and the role that you have at Qraft Technologies.
Sure, I'm happy to. So I'm currently taking the role of the COO of the Qraft Technologies, at the same time taking another role of the APAC CEO because I'm based in Hong Kong, and our companies are starting from South Korea in 2016, and a few companies that are what I believe is truly expanding to the global from South Korea. So I feel very lucky to be part of this team and the company. What our companies are doing is they're providing AI-powered investment solutions, from the range of the investment signals to the customized softwares, at the same time applying that into our own proprietary the investment as well. So our company, throughout around the 7+ years of the journey since the incorporations, one of the notable moments is the 2022 beginning of it, where we have 146 million of the capital infusion from the SoftBank Group. That was a kind of some iconic moment for us to truly transforming ourselves to able to aim to the global journey for the business expansion. So I'm taking part of it, leading the day-to-day business, at the same time engaging together with our researchers, AI engineers, to developing approachable the investment signal and solution for other financial institutions.
Okay. I think you've really captured that in a nutshell very well, and that really sounds like a fantastic development that the company has been on. I should say that all the best companies were founded in 2016, like RDI Worldwide. My company also, I set it up in 2016 in Seoul, but I yet to have a capital infusion from SoftBank, so still waiting on that one. But you mentioned global in your answer there, which is a very broad encompassing term. And I think a lot of people are very aspirational to go global, be global. That's both from the company perspective and the personal perspective. I think you are perhaps a very good example of somebody who really is global. You've had quite a long standing connection with Hong Kong. Tell me a little bit about um, your origin of being based in Hong Kong and what it's been like for you being based there.
Sure. Yeah, more than happy to share. So I think myself is a bit more luckier aside of um, some samples. I don't know how to say it well, but my first so I'm born and bred from South Korea. So I never studied abroad till the first time I'm located in Hong Kong in 2010. So I've been here, staying for 14 years straight. And the first moment that I have chance to relocating was the when I worked in Mirror Asset, and there was some expansion plan for sending some of the South Korean based staffs to the Hong Kong
Hmm.
office for business expansion. So um, that was a quite a interesting moment as well because I was in the team of four, and then I know the HR is asking every single person in our team, four of them, and then whether they have a interest in moving over to Hong Kong.
Mm.
And what I back then, what I tell to HR team is the 50-50, I'm not so sure, but that was the strongest most positive feedback from among that four. So,
That's
so,
that's okay.
so I kind
Interesting.
of yeah, I was able to grab the chance, and that started my journey of the staying outside Korea. So that's the reason why I feel myself is a lucky.
Mm.
It was it's kind of slightly different from whether I really planned to moving away, but it was a more like pretty much of a luck factor to
Mm.
have a chance to work outside of Korea. But since then, I was able to work with a great the seniors and my bosses at the same time, and kind of inspiration the by the what they thinking, and then the seeing the much more broader the market outside of Korea. And I still remember one of my boss. His name's Roger Liu, and he told me that my Korean name is Kisak. My English name is Francis. Well, my Korean name Kisak. And back then, I only use my Korean name, Kisak. Uh, be a global asset, not to the Korean asset. Back then, I didn't understand what that means, but after years the passing by, I start to realize the global assets, or at least having that mindset, it was very helpful for me to continue expanding my journey, not only dealing with the Korean client, but at the same time looking into the journey to the other Asian market, plus United States, plus Europe, etc., etc.
That's very interesting that you weren't necessarily striving to get that opportunity, but once you did, you very much embraced it with both arms and jumped in and it's funnily enough quite a parallel to myself. You went to Hong Kong in 2010. I've been there ever since. I came to Seoul in 2010, and I've been here ever since. So that's an interesting parallel, and great
Thank you.
that things have developed since then. And so, would you say that in terms of the area that you've been in, you know, essentially financial markets and investments, and then with very much the tech driven, um, part of that coming in, was this something that was very much kind of intentional for you? I mean, was it something that you were kind of good at, therefore you pursued it, or was it something that you were just very, very interested in, and it was like you loved it, and so you put it that way, and that's allowed you to get there, or a combination of both?
I think combination of real boss,
Okay.
and so if I just look at myself, I my character is a bit more receptive in terms of the how I'm embracing things. So I just want to share a little bit of my background as well. So After Mirai, and I joined another US asset management company, Directions, which is the providing leveraging versus ETFs. And I have changed to moving over to the Vanguard, in charge of South Korean market, to the institutional and intermediary channels as well. So I pretty much built my career in the asset management company. Typically in financial field, we call that as the buy side
Yeah.
clients. And I have a different role of the fund manager, the product sales, and some little bit of a strategy and the risk management as well. So was able to look into the pretty much every single angle of the corner of the asset management business. And for the moment that I decided to join the Qraft Technologies was the 2019 no 2020, the late 2020, and that was the moment that the Vanguard, they decide to winding down their entire business in Asia market, regardless of the its performance was
Mm.
stunning, frankly speaking. But that decision was made, and despite whether I was relatively senior position in the Vanguard, but I wasn't able to have that much information before it happened. So after the Vanguard, I was looking for a couple of different opportunities, but the primary reason for me to grab this chance to work in the startup company, and back then we didn't have any money from SoftBank Group as well. So literally a very small startup company was the couple points. The first thing is I want to take control of my own journey instead of someone is making decision on behalf of me. That was first reasoning. And then second thing is I used to be a quant portfolio manager, and then I was able to see how the asset management industries are continuously evolving in a very fast forward speed. At the same time, the less and less room for the only pure human manager or the kind of a there will be a demand. I wasn't so sure before I'm seeing the ChatGPT, which is 1 year after I joined this company. But I believe the artificial intelligence is changing in the market on our day-to-day the life. So it will be also changing the financial industry as well. That was my belief as well. So and the last part is when I look at this team, the Craft Technologies, despite we were small back then and also the relatively short history of the business, I do see great talent in the company. So I found I'm not expert in AI, frankly speaking. No, I understand a little bit, but I'm not an AI expert. But at the same time, what I believe is there is definitely the room for me to contribute to this organization by connecting and sharing my own network and then ideas of understanding the financial market. Then it will be kind of explosive. So those are my thoughts of the joining this company in the early part of the journey.
I mean, that's really interesting, and I'm sure taking control of your journey is something that will resonate with a lot of people, whether they are early in their career or middle or later on. I'm sure that will be something that people can understand and fully. With all that being said, it's
Mm,
fair to say that that was still a relatively conventional career path, relatively stable and well established kind of organizations into something that was to a certain extent unknown. That,
right.
of course, at any time in someone's career takes a certain amount of courage and bravery. What is it that you feel was the kind of the defining moment or the key factor that made you confident? No, this is definitely something I want to step into
Mm.
and make that jump.
I think before giving you that answer, what I'm believing is uh, it is not necessary. So everyone need to take a adventurous journey. There's a no right or wrong. I mean, there are definitely the different the trait or the relative strengths for working in the established company or the entering into the adventurous the startup industry. So there's no right or wrong. It's about whether you think that you can be willingness to take the risk.
Okay.
The first part is risk taking. At the same time, not just risk taking, it's more about like what you want to do by the starting the start a company. Risk taking people can do if the situation is coming. But I think the more important thing is the whether is there something you really want to change or the from the conventional things or the traditional things or the there's something you can make it better or the you have a great idea and you just cannot sleep without having achieving it. So it's about the you need to think about it carefully on what you really want to do. By just moving over to startup company, I want to be the higher rank because startup company usually give a inflated ranking because of a small size organization. But that is kind of happy in some points, but is not sustainable from my point of view. So I think need to think to yourself very objectively of is there certain things you really want to change in the current system of our society? I think that would be the right question to be asked to everyone else.
Got it. Got it. No, I think that's a very well considered answer. So thank you. Let me now turn to the questions that I ask to every guest that comes on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah,
The first of which is that how is it that you go about on a daily basis getting stuff done?
yeah,
You have the title of APAC CEO.
yeah.
It's a big role. So for you on a kind of daily basis, what is the way in which you go about making sure that you get everything done that you need to get done?
Yeah. It's kind of about confession to the listener of this podcast. I try to be very efficient decision maker on get things done on day to day, but the reality of me is maybe not the case. But anyway, the I some of the habits I trying to do is um, the finding enough time to rest your brain at least like the after 9 p.m. ish, pretty much not doing anything, so that your brain is able to relax as much as possible. Because think about the startup life, we are living in a messy world, right? You have to handle the multiple things at the same time. The multitasking is a very strong word, but the multitasking is the really killing your brain. So to make a clear decision and judgment, I try to relax my brain as much as possible. I'm not saying that I'm good at it, but I try to do. Is a thing. At the same time, the another one is the I'm still in the journey of the learning, but trying to delegate as much as possible. Frankly speaking, I'm not a good delegator. I later kind of do things by myself. It's oftentimes it's faster for the first cases, but I know this is toxic when it goes longer. It's kind of the killing my time. So I really try to delegate as much as possible. Kind of giving the right amount of instruction instead of the full picture. I mean, full pictures need to be given, but the finding the right amount of instructions is necessary. So I am maybe no longer, I mean, not so much different from the any other the people who are listening to this podcast. I'm still learning, but just trying to do the basic things, yeah, to continuous improvement.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think that's you've acknowledged that it's always a work in progress in that sense from lifelong learning. So that's perhaps the kind of the big picture on a more granular level, literally on a day-to-day basis, like the start of the day. How do you make sure that you probably have more than you can ever get done, right? It's probably you have some huge long-term projects and a huge abundance of minor things that are also trying to grab your attention. What is your secret technique or your personal strategy for managing and balancing those kind of things?
Sure. So uh, the morning time is most essential, often cases. Like really, in the afternoon, things are getting out of our control. The kind of sudden incoming inquiry from the client, etc. So it is always difficult to managing time in the afternoon. So I'm trying to get things done as much as possible in the morning time, especially before 9 a.m. Whenever there's a things I need to delegate, or the sending emails, or the clarifying things, reporting, I try to get things done before the 9 a.m. in the morning, so that I have
Before
a
9 a.m. Okay,
yeah, before
really,
9 a.m.
really
Yeah,
before core working hours.
yes, a little before the
Okay,
co-working hours. After that, uh, things always get messy. So,
okay,
so yeah, and I do not want to be the blockage or the bottleneck for those decision maker. The beauty for the startup is the seamless communication and the decision making throughout the continuous discussion within the organization, and and I'm in a position, and someone like me is becomes a very good position to be a bottleneck of the not making decision. There are the many different arguments about the decision making. Some said
hmm
they need to make the perfect decision making or the best decision making, and some said that there's no bad decision making. I'm sorry, no wrong decision making, but there is a bad decision making, which is the pended decisions. So I try to avoid the later one as much as possible. We all learn from the trial and error, which is the same for me and my team members too. So yeah, so get things done before 9 a.m. Sending every email, the messages. That is my kind of daily habits.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And tell us a little bit about the management structure that you're currently in terms of how many people that you're managing and uh, their backgrounds. I'm just a bit I'm curious about the cross
Sure.
cultural leadership element of that.
Yeah, yeah. So we're quite unique. So the management organization that I'm engaging right now is I'm a board of director for our Qraft Technologies. So we have two members from Qraft and two members from the SoftBank group, which is public information. So I think I can tell. There is a cross cultural the segment in the board members, and then the leadership team is the instead of our company is we have a headquarters in South Korea, and Hong Kong is a subsidiary. But how we work is the working like a weaving every decision making at the same time. So working as one firm, no hierarchy, headquarter, the subsidiary. But we make most of actually decision making is also decided by the Hong Kong side as well. So we have a total around 85 plus of people in our the entire organization. The more than majority of them are located in South Korea, which is our headquarters at the same time tech center. And the Hong Kong, we have a team of seven right now, but Hong Kong is much more engaging in the business development element part of it. So we are interconnected with our headquarters. So in terms of numbers, then direct report to me is around maybe 10-ish. Indirect reports around 30-ish plus. And yes, everyone has different backgrounds. Some are very the native from South Korea, and we have the American who are staying in South Korea as well. We have a Hong Kong, have a team from Taiwan, and local Hong Kong, and from Shanghai, and someone like me, Korean working in Hong Kong as well. So
Hmm
it's a very, very diverse organization. So usually in communication becomes the big issue. So there's no best way to mitigating any communication issue, but what I'm trying to continue doing is the sharing necessary information, or even more than necessary information within the organization with the team members, as clear and as transparent as possible, so that everyone can at least have some good sense of what's going on. So without having the clear and transparent communication, I do not think that multi-country, cross-cultural organization will be able to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious though, when you were, say, 20, 25, maybe 30, and everyone knows everyone, everyone gets to see people know what everybody's doing, it's easy to avoid hierarchy.
Right.
Then you've grown to 85, you said. Has
Exactly.
has that has that no, often that will immediately present specific challenges around necessary structure, but then very carefully trying to avoid hierarchy and silos. So is that something that you've very kind of proactively tried to avoid over the course of the growth?
Yes, I cannot agree more. Especially the part that the team of 2025 versus team of 80 plus is totally different. The communications are no longer the same level of transparency of the sharing. So, and my own the experience is the if I'm directly managing over 4 to 5, and it's difficult. It's already there is a the loss of the communication, or sometimes it could be the friction is happening in the way of the communication. But in the meantime, like I want to keep the relative advantage of being the startup, which is the fast decision making process by communication as much as possible. So we are in the transition period from just a startup to the corporate. So it could be same case for the other company as well, but where we are as organization is trying to spend a lot of time is the finding right people in the middle manager or just manager. The role is tremendously important as we grow the business.
Mm.
So we are in the kind of hybrid moment at this juncture. But I do envision that as time goes by, or if we have more than 100 people plus, then there's definitely the moment that we cannot avoid adopting the HR or the decision making system that used by the big organizations.
You're right. There is just a certain scale where it needs to be, very carefully process mapped and as automated as much as possible in order to keep that same level of service, or at least internal policy across the organization. But it's great that you're already aware of that. And then I want to ask then the counter question. So, have you had a time when you've come up against something unexpected, or something has kind of broken or gone wrong, and then what was the thing? What was your way, your method to try to resolve that, or get back on plan?
Right. There are I think many experiences or the
Okay.
examples that we're facing. It could be same for the other companies as well, but um, so my mm, my style of the handling thing is the letter disclosing as soon as possible once I notice that there's a trouble is happening, so that even though that will kind of directly the either ruin my internal reputation or the credit, but it's always good to share in advance so that someone's failure or someone's mistake is as the company grows, is no longer just stay as that person's issues. It will be the organization's issue in terms of reputations or the business continuity or the relationship with client in holistic perspective. So, want to encouraging our team members. So I never say things bad to my colleague or my team members when they come up with some issue. I never do that because if I'm taking that stance, then they will have a higher incentive to hiding, and then I will only get to know in the last minute, which is the too late to fixing. So, uh, so that is the what I'm believing. So it's good to have a right culture of the company. So embracing the risk of the trial and error, but whenever there's a things happen, then we open to the necessary teams, and then have a leveraging the a everyone's the idea to solve it as soon as possible. So yeah,
Got it. I mean, I think that's a key point for whatever the size of the organization to make sure you're getting the information and the status, or at least the problem, as early on as possible. And there's that great TV show called Undercover CEO, where I don't know if you've
oh, yeah,
seen it,
yeah, I
uh,
saw that. Yeah,
where and that is always so informative, because the CEO, who is usually at that point so far removed from the front line, from the customer service, from the client facing environment, sees things instantly that are just totally wrong, or not optimized, suboptimal, and then they can do that. And I think that it seems to be that those CEOs of organizations who do that kind of change their path from that moment on. They somehow take away that they will never be so far removed from the front line again, in
sure.
order to make sure that those communication channels remain open. So it sounds to me like you have already developed quite um, a high level of self-awareness when it comes to leadership. How would you define your own personal leadership style? You said you have about 10 direct reports.
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing that's probably the largest number you've had in your career so far. Um,
Yep.
how would you define your own personal leadership style?
Yes. So that is a kind of one of my biggest challenge right now, is because up until the Vanguard, the biggest team I had. I mean, that was a kind of the 15 years of my career. The up to that level, the biggest team I had was a team of two, including myself. So it's very dramatical changing after joining this company. So I'm still learning about what would be the best to do that. But um, when I taking the MBA classes in Hong Kong universities, I still remember the leadership classes. The professor mentioned that there's a no right or wrong leadership. There are just different types of leadership. So my leadership is uh, instead of the I'm changing all the time, but instead of too bossy to my team members, but at the same time trying to be their how can I say, the equal level of the participation. I'm not
Okay.
so what will be the right way to discussing, but I just want to the giving a lot of different empowerment to my team, but at the same time be in the same page with them, so that the reason for that is the every organization is unique, but for our case is our AI engineers, researchers, and teams are the great. They are the brilliant, smart, but at the same time have a less experience in the financial industry. Kind of everyone is young, so so some of the some soft very the subtle nuance from our clients, and I have to be translating for them, so not to make them the wasting their time, etc. So I am okay. Then in that cases, I define my leadership as a very engaging type of leadership with my team. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think I get a sense of that from having talked to you, that there isn't a sense of status, that or entitlement that you have. So that definitely comes across in that. Um, You mentioned at the start that up until a certain point you were only using your Korean name Kizok. Uh,
Yes.
and then you took on an English name, Francis.
Right.
Was tell me a little bit about what made you decide to take on an English name at that point? Because I think in Korea a lot of kids when they have their first English class, they get
Okay.
almost assigned a name. They don't really get much choice, and they just go with it,
I,
and they either keep it or they don't. People who are a little
yeah,
bit more religious,
you're
they
right.
often, when they get baptized, they'll take on a specific kind of saint's name or other specific Christian
Sure.
name. And
Oh,
then there are people who conveniently have a name that where they can just take their two syllables of their first names, like a JS, a JY,
yes.
KP, whatever, and that's
Right.
they're quite a nice way.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yes. I'm not so sure. Okay. The full transparency is the very candidly. I am in the more like a person that, I mean, why should I make English name? Like the
Okay.
think about everyone has their own name. Like the American, British, their own using their own name. The
Yep.
someone from the Eastern Europe, they have their own name.
Yep.
Not choosing the English like a name. No, Indian same, the Japanese as well. Then why Korean? I should make the English name. I mean, I
Totally.
remember their name. They should remember my Korean name as well. That is my status.
Fully
Of
agree.
the yeah, yeah, I'm kind of that kind of person up onto the vanguard. But the after that, the joining this company, the company comes first, then my own belief. For this cases is because we are the AI company, startup company, and then the looted from South Korea is definitely not disadvantage, but at the same time, the most of our clients and business cases, we work together with overseas client, international client. So, and it's kind of a company's not written policy, but kind of practices. Everyone has
Hmm.
English name, so okay, then I should make one. And the Francis is coming from my Catholic, the baptismal name of a
Okay.
Francisco. So that's the long story in the short version.
I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, no, no. And would you say now that so on a daily basis, are you? I guess you're using Korean and English.
Right.
What's the split of your daily business language?
Uh, it's ironically, so yes, very ironically, the Craft Technologies, the Korean rooted fintech com, is the firm that I use English most. So around 80% of time of my day, I'm using English.
Okay.
So someone who
Yeah.
knew me in my previous firm, like a Vanguard or the one before, they always surprised that, oh, Kisok, how come your English get better? I think no secret, but I'm just using it on pretty much a day to day basis. So
Right. Right.
yeah, English is my main medium of the communication right now.
Okay. And then it's absolutely going to be Francis. But when you're speaking Korean,
Yes.
uh, usually in a Korean company, there aren't names. It's usually often it's a title plus a name
Right.
to
Yeah.
to show that kind of respect. And companies, of
Yeah.
course, are now juggling
Um,
new ways of trying to take an English name but still have
uh,
name to be polite,
yes.
or trying to
Yes.
get rid of titles, but then no one's really sure like how to do that. So how is it for you with your Korean colleagues?
Um, we have a very straightforward internal policy for that, or culture, I can say, is for the English communication, whenever it's across the organization in Hong Kong or the Korea, we're
Uh-huh.
just using the English name. No need to put the name in there. I don't like that as well. And so it's very straightforward. I like it. For the when I'm writing the email or communicate in Korean, then yes, our organization also we take out all the titles. So
Okay.
like my Korean name Kisok Nim, that's all. And I'm do the
Okay.
same thing for my subordinate and my team members as well. So
Okay.
uh,
So
kind of
no
yeah,
titles,
totally respecting. Yes.
no titles, taking the given name with for politeness. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
No, it was something that as a British person, previously working in a large Korean company, and of course I had juniors,
Mm.
and I saw other seniors using informal speech,
Mm.
panmal to them,
Yeah, yeah.
and I felt, and it's not just as simple as someone being higher than them and therefore using that. There is also a proximity and a closeness in the relationship that can develop, which allows you to then use that informal,
Exactly.
which further kind of complicates it. So, but for me, I just found let's just level the playing field and let's use formal speech style to everybody, whether they are senior, junior, or same level. That was the way that I found kind of worked best for
I
me.
I fully agree, and I am the person that the believing the whatever we're saying has its own power of the influence. So it is definitely will be reflected of the how we communicating with our team members. The 반말 is can be definitely the showing in the proximity of the how close they are in the personal relationship. But as we are working in the company, so maybe some separation of the personal relationship in the work relationship may be needed. I don't know. That's my own view, but yeah, I'm your side, Gordon.
Yeah, although I must add another funny story, which was recently with the Korean Lunar New Year. I was
Yeah.
meeting a lot of my Korean relatives on my wife's side, and there's one much younger cousin. And my wife said,
Mm.
"Oh, why aren't you speaking informal speech style to him? Because
Ah,
he's so much younger than you." And his answer was, "Oh, we didn't have drinking together yet." And because we
makes
hadn't had
sense.
drinking together yet, right? I mean, in the Korean context, it makes sense.
Even
We hadn't
better,
had
yeah,
drinking
maybe.
together. We hadn't developed that kind of personal
Oh,
relationship enough. And so
right.
and I kind of agree. I didn't feel close enough to him
Yeah.
to use that because
Uh,
so yeah, that was an interesting one for me. I want to flip it over to you,
sure.
Francis, and ask you what's the most challenging thing about you living and working in Hong Kong
Um,
as a non-local.
sure. Working abroad is difficult, especially in the early stages. Like you have to get used to for the new culture, new system. Like everything is different, right, Gordon? Like even the way of paying the phone bill or the electricity bill is different. Like even that is different. So usually like 3 to 6 months of time, you have to get yourself to accustomed to the different practices and procedure of the living on your side. Um, for that perspective, Hong Kong was very honestly was quite straightforward because the Hong Kong is a city that been kind of lots of influence by the old expats. So as a non-Hong Kong people, not so much difficult. You still have the difficulties of the ordering the food in the local restaurant. If you cannot speak Cantonese, you may find difficulties, but that is let's put that aside. But for the walking culture wise, it's much more westernized and transparent, so it was okay. But when I look at my other friends or the brothers in the industry, and then sometimes they found is the um, how can I say the in their personal relationship, because the pool is small, like really whenever they having the boyfriend girlfriend sometimes difficult to find, and getting married is a different another story. So that is a kind of things that some people decide to go back to Korea, finding there the other half for their life, and but what I want to say, or the sharing my own experiences, it's definitely painful in the early stages. But once you get used to it, then it will definitely expanding your kind of the field of thought
Mm,
of the not just many people only know about what things going on in South Korea. But if you start to living abroad, then you are actually able to kind of double up your
right.
the ideas and thinking. So
Right, right. It's like an expansion of what you're comfortable with, which is a sense of like an adaptability.
sure.
But 14 years is a long time. I know because that's exactly how long I've been living in Korea.
Yeah.
If you, I don't know how often you do come back to Korea, but do you find yourself increasingly detached from current Korea, current status Korea, and how life is here, and as it's evolved and changed? Do you find yourself increasingly being a tourist in your own home country?
I do, I do. And the biggest moment that I felt that way was the after COVID-19. So COVID-19 was a period of pretty much a 2 year plus of the lockdown. I mean, not literally lockdown, but it's very difficult to fly into other country, right? So I remember the my first business trip to Korea in this company Craft was the kind of was the first time in last 2 years. So I will see a lot of things has been changing, and then I find myself feel alien or the foreigner in South Korea. And even like I started looking at the Kakao Taxi, I don't have that app because of my Kakao is linked to the Hong Kong number. So I cannot link to the Kakao Taxi app. Oh my God, what should I do? And no one is a Kakao. There's no taxi in the street. So the things are, yes, I do feel maybe you feel the similar or the opposite way of what I'm feeling, but yeah, but luckily Hong Kong and Korea are not too far in terms of the flight hour, so I'm able to have a good chance to continuously recalibrating myself
Right.
back to yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And in the Get Stuff Done podcast, we very much like to talk about transferable skills, the
Sure.
things which people can develop, which are not particular to one job, but they are by their own, the very nature transferable.
Right.
The things which you can develop both consciously and I guess also subconsciously, and things which people can be perhaps the more you are aware of them, the better you can utilize them. It's almost like knowing your strengths and weaknesses. For
Yeah.
you, what would you say is the most important transferable skill that people should develop?
Um, I later say the maybe two things. The one
Okay.
is the which is interconnected. The first one is a strategic thinking. Strategic thinking about the thinking. I mean, not just thinking about strategies, are more like a thinking couple of steps ahead, like
Okay.
continuously assessing if I'm doing this, what will be the coming next, and then what will be the other response I'm expecting. Kind of a little bit of game theory type of the strategic thinking is always help you to navigating the scenarios and then able to help you to be ready for any type of the communication. And linked to this is the this is something I'm start to realizing notably important in everyone's day-to-day life is the the skill set of the making a good summary. Like it could be meeting summary, it could be a the kind of verbal discussion summary, or it could be summary of the current situation or whatsoever. Because everyone has a little and less time of
Okay.
the understanding what's going on in the work or the market, etc. So it is definitely a skill and ability you can train yourself to summarize in a very concise way of the analyzing what are the core elements of the what we are seeing in the market or the situation. It will be a extremely helpful if you can have a chance to take a bigger role. And I believe, yeah, that is two skill set I want to share.
That's really interesting because I think what you've identified there is something that maybe when we look at world-renowned people who are incredibly accomplished in their field, these are the ones who have that skill in abundance, and it's very evident. And I guess you're talking importantly not about the ability to use ChatGPT or AI to do that summarizing, but you're talking about getting information and the kind of the synthesis, and as you said, summarizing of it in order to
Right.
turn it into valuable a valuable use. I think that is a really important skill. And I guess when you add the foreign language element into it, if you're getting information in your non-native language or a language you're not so familiar, and then have to summarize it and translate it, then that's adding another element to it, which is of course necessary. So thank you so much for sharing those two key skills. With that, unfortunately, Francis, we are pretty much out of time
I have to jump from another meeting right now. So.
for today. So thank you so much for all your answers and insights and sharing your experiences with us today. And I hope we can continue the conversation.
More than happy to. It was my pleasure and honor to join today's podcast. Thank you, Gordon.
And thank you also to everybody for joining the podcast and listening into this episode. We do continue to bring you the best guests we possibly can every week. And I hope that if you haven't yet subscribed, you'll do me the honor and click that subscribe button so that you can stay with us for the future episodes. Once again, thanks very much for being with us, and hope to see you again soon in another episode. Let's get stuff done.